Meeting to order. We got some minutes here. Where are the minutes that we got to have approved? Minutes of March 26th. Did everybody, Representative Green, did you read the minutes?
Yes, I did, Mr. Chair. I'd like to move the minutes.
Representative Green moves the minutes of March 26th. All in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion approved. Thank you very much. Now we have House File 4269, Representative Torkelson. Welcome to your committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Happy to be at the testifiers table today. I believe the motion is to hold this over for possible inclusion.
That's correct.
And with that, if you're ready, I'll go ahead with the bill.
I am ready.
Excellent.
We have to adopt a DE3 amendment.
Yes.
Is that an author's amendment?
Yes, it is, Mr. Chair. I would like to adopt that to get the bill in the shape I would like.
Okay, it's all in favor of adopting the DE3 amendment, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, bill's the way you want it.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Some of you may remember that at the end of session last year, there was a provision put into law that stated if there was a surplus this year, that there would be $22 million of the surplus would be rolled into the Clean Water Fund. And that's exactly what happened. So the Clean Water Fund has gotten this windfall of $22 million from the surplus, plus there's some additional funds that are available coming up to a total of some over $26 million. The Clean Water Council's recommendations were passed out of the Environment Committee last week. In the meantime, I've been doing some research to try and determine if there might be some tweaks we should make to this, that I feel we should make to this, to fund some things that got cut in last year's changes, and that's exactly what I've done. I will step through those changes. First, with the Department of Agriculture program for Forever Green. Forever Green is a program that's trying to discover and establish viable markets for alternative crops. Here in Minnesota, they also act as cover crops, and I'm suggesting we allocate $500,000 to that. That was cut some last year when we made the changes. PFA, Public Facilities Authority, $1.25 million for their point source implementation grants. That reflects a cut that was made last year. Clean Water Council budget under the Pollution Control Agency, they're asking for a grand total of $10,000 to get them through the biennium with the operating. They take care of the operations of the committee, the Clean Water Council, and they were a little bit short, so they're asking for $10,000. Forest of the Future was another program that was cut, I believe, in last year's bill, and we're recommending $1 million there. It's a DNR program for permanent easements on forest plans. Next, the Board of Water and Soil Resources. We've made a number of changes here from the Clean Water Council's recommendations. The first one, the One Watershed, One Plan, is really just a rounding change to bring that to $4.3 million. The surface water and drinking water protection grants were cut in last year's bill, and we're bringing that in at $3.5 million. The Conservation Reserve Enhancement Program, you may remember the governor signed a memorandum of understanding with the federal government last year, the year before, for a large federal grant for CREP. We've been finding money for that from various sources to accommodate the other changes in this bill, or this amendment. I've reduced that from the Clean Water Fund to $10 million. I know there's a bonding request for those funds, and it's an ongoing program where they could access dollars in the future also. Cost share for buffers, also under Bowser. I've had contact with both watershed districts and counties that are in the process of establishing buffers. The cost share money is still needed to support that effort. And so this $5 million will go toward continuing to help farmers establish buffers across the state. And then the next program is an irrigation program that was started in Benton County. It was an LCCMR program originally, and they finished the work in Benton County. The program is in working order, and the proposal was originally to expand to a couple more counties. I'd like to initiate these funds to expand it on a broader basis. It actually fits in nicely with what's happening at the university. The university extension is hiring an irrigation specialist, and this program would be very useful to that new person. They're coming on board, I believe, the 1st of July, and this program allows farmers to become much more efficient with the way they use irrigation. It incorporates data from a number of different sources, including soil types, current weather data, the crop they're planting, their own farming practices, and helps them schedule irrigation timing and amounts in a way that makes more efficient use of Minnesota waters. And then finally, with the University of Minnesota, there's a return on investment study that is also recommended by the Clean Water Council to try and help us better understand how effective our clean water spending is. With that, Mr. Chair, I stand for questions.
Very well. Any questions from the members? Representative Guinness, I knew I'd look at you and I find a hand up
You just looked over here.
right away.
Chair Torkelson, when I look at this, I'm hoping that we're going to be thinking about additional tweaks as we go forward. And one of the reasons is almost all of this money will be going to outstate Minnesota. We don't have, last time I looked, the Metro did contribute a lot to this fund, and just in the terms of fairness, but also in terms of need. I think that we need to talk about and recognize some of the needs in the metro area, and not even just in the peripheral. So I see that you do have on line 2.26 some money for riparian buffers in the seven county metro, or they could be in the 7-county metro, but those would be pretty much on the fringes of the metro, not in the metro. So I don't know what the intention is here, is if this is something where we can have conversations about the needs in the metro. Could I explain to you some of those, or are we open for this?
Representative Torkelson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Representative Guinness. Of course, I'm always willing to have a conversation.
Okay. Well, I will. One of the places that I besides the overall, almost all the money goes to outstate. So that's the big picture. But in the smaller picture, I'm looking on line 2.2, and you're looking at projects, and 2.3, projects that protect groundwater from degradation. I think that's great. The problem is, I don't think there's anybody in the metro or outstate that has is at the point yet of having enough information about their groundwater where we are just doing projects rather than first looking at needs. So I know White Bear Lake had the USGS look at their groundwater. So they know their problems, and so they can implement projects right now. So I would say that they are eligible. But then I look at my own watershed district, which is huge, and that's the Minnehaha Creek Watershed District. They have not investigated the groundwater at all. And so we are having huge problems in my district in basements flooding, extremely expensive reconstruction of sewer lines because you have to dewater them first. We're losing mature trees because the groundwater is so high, and nobody knows why. We literally do not know why. People speculate, but there's no science. And so I think we are maybe more representative of the state than I think we would like to think of ourselves as we think we know a lot about our groundwater, but I'm guessing that there are no other districts except for White Bear Lake that really have a good science understanding. So I would hope you would be open to not just saying projects, but to understand what's going on in our groundwater so we actually know we could do projects. So we're doing the second step without the first one, except for White Bear Lake. So that's one of the things I see. And maybe other folks will see other things where we have problems in the metro, just like there are problems outstate. So maybe other people would want to talk about theirs. But I come back to this because there's a fairness issue here, and I know the chair has intended fairness, and I understand this bill is to be laid over.
That's correct.
And so we have some time for discussions, but I think maybe we need to talk about some of the problems that are not being addressed, as well as the problems that are.
Representative Torkelson?
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm sure Representative Wagenius is aware of the drinking water supply management areas across the state, and that is some of the ongoing work that we can do right now is to make sure that those areas are protected as well as is appropriate for the different designated drinking water supply management areas across the state. That's certainly one of the areas that we are ready now to do some work on. Understanding groundwater is an ongoing process. It's complicated, and we are, trying to make progress. But with what I continually hear from a lot of folks is let's do more projects on the ground. They want to see this money spent in a way that actually has an impact on the waters of the state of Minnesota.
If I could follow up.
Representative Wagenius?
Well, I actually think doing groundwater protection areas is a good idea. So I support that, but
Can you bring the microphone closer? Thank you.
most of those will, again, be in outstate Minnesota because those of us in the metro drink river water. And there is no protection for the Mississippi River, unfortunately. So we're in the position of having to clean it up in order to drink it at probably more expensive than anybody else pays in this state. So Minneapolis, St. Paul, and a number of our suburbs. So it's 1 million people. St. Cloud, too. 1 million people drink Mississippi River water. But none of this money would go for protecting that 1 million folks. So this is mainly for municipal wells, and those municipal wells tend to be in outstate Minnesota. So again, I just look at the fairness issue here.
Representative Wagenius, we have something that's strictly for the metropolitan area. It's called the Met Council. And they are in charge of Minneapolis and the metropolitan's drinking water as well as their wastewater. And last I heard, they do a fairly good job.
If I could.
Yep.
Actually, in terms of wastewater, yes, the Met Council is in charge of our wastewater, but not our drinking water. Minneapolis has a drinking water system and supplies a number of suburbs as well as Minneapolis. St. Paul has a separate drinking water system and supplies a number of its suburbs as well as St. Paul. But there is no control by the Met Council of either of those drinking water systems. They are strictly done by the cities themselves.
I agree. I have the same fears kind of that you do. We get our water from surface water where I live too.
I know, and that's,
And you have gone through the agonies that I have gone through with me, and I appreciated that. But I also remember taking a tour of the water treatment plant on the Mississippi River. I think it's right off Lindale, I believe. I don't know, it's been so long ago. And one minor spill could affect a lot of things for a long time.
That,
But we can dig wells, but we'd have to change everything. I think what we have is, what we're stuck with, is there any way that you can think that we could improve the outcomes of any surface water consumption, I would do anything to help you with.
well, if I could then, Mr. Chair, I can suggest a couple of things. One is the Health Department or PCA or Ag, none of them test the Mississippi River for drinking water contaminants. We'll test the Mississippi for other things, but not for drinking water contaminants. That's way overdue. We should have been doing that years ago. So PCA, for example, has done a random, I'll bring a chart down. You know I can bring a map down. Of pharmaceuticals that are random. They just did a random sample of pharmaceuticals. And they're, one of the hot spots was about 20 miles north of our drinking water intakes. Now, Minneapolis and St. Paul's drinking water intakes are fairly close together, not in Minneapolis or St. Paul, but north. So ours is in Minneapolis, is in Ridley. But if you don't test the pharmaceuticals that are coming into the drinking water intakes, you don't know what to test for after the cities have cleaned up the water. So we're pretty far behind. Minnesota likes to think of itself as ahead, not in drinking water. So that's one of the places we should be working, is basically to test what's coming into our drinking water system, so we have the baseline testing and know what's coming in. Similarly, north of St. Cloud.
Okay? It's good thoughts. We should check those things out. I know the governor's very focused on drinking water. Representative Torkelson, any other members have questions about House File 4269? Boy, you've done a great job.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to renew
We
my
have
motion.
we have a testifier, is that person?
Oh,
We have a testifier, Shannon Lotthammer. Welcome to our committee. Give your name for the record, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. My name is Shannon Lotthammer.
Shannon.
I'm the Assistant Commissioner for Water at the Pollution Control Agency, and I appreciate the opportunity to testify on House File 4269. I'm here to testify actually on behalf of all of the state agencies that receive clean water funding. Leadership from these agencies get together regularly to coordinate our Clean Water Fund activities. And we do that to ensure that we're delivering services and programs in a coordinated way and in an efficient way, as expected by the administration, by the legislature, and by Minnesotans. So in the creative way of state agencies, we refer to ourselves as the Interagency Coordination Team, so very creative name. And I'm the chair of that team, which is why I'm testifying on behalf of the agencies today. We also work really closely with the Clean Water Council as they fulfill their responsibilities under the Clean Water Legacy Act. So the agencies are supportive of the bill as introduced. The introduced bill implements the Clean Water Council and governor's recommendations regarding the supplemental funding available on the Clean Water Fund. And the Clean Water Council did develop their recommendations via an initial discussion in September at their public meetings, and then specific discussions at the full Clean Water Council and at a subcommittee that they have in March. So I could speak to the governor's and the Clean Water Council's recommendations from the original bill, but noting that there has been an amendment that was posted today and adopted. I just want to note that the amendment does focus on implementation activities like the governor's and Clean Water Council's recommendations do, but in a somewhat different way than was recommended by the council and the governor. And I've not had an opportunity to discuss the amendment details with the involved agencies or with the Clean Water Council. Just wanted to note that. And with that, Mr. Chair, thank you for the opportunity to testify, and I'd be happy to respond to any questions that I can.
Representative Wagenius, you have a question?
Yeah.
Crystal ball's still working.
When I looked at the Clean Water Council's recommendations, they seem to have the same flaw, that most of the money is to be spent in outstate Minnesota, which again lacks the fairness, and more importantly, ignores some of the problems that we're having in the metro area. I don't know whether you want to comment on that. But I just wanted to observe that while I critique Representative Torkelson's, his in that respect is not any different from what you all did.
So,
Ms.
Mr. Mr. Chair and Representative Wagenius, I can certainly bring that feedback back to both the coordination team and the Clean Water Council. I do think it's important to put in context the fact that this is supplemental funding, and so it represents just a small portion of all of the resources that are being spent from the Clean Water Fund that is appropriated by the legislature. But I hear what you're saying, and I can certainly share that information back.
Representative Wagenius.
I would appreciate that, particularly given that the same critique of what was appropriated last time would hold. I'm still sitting here trying to figure out why nothing has been done on the drinking water issue from the Clean Water Council's point of view, other than the kinds of things that are in this bill to look at municipal wells but not river water. I mean, it's 20% of Minnesotans drink river water. That's a lot of Minnesotans that have been totally ignored. So that's just a comment, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Anybody else have any questions? Representative Thiessen.
Yeah, thank you. So I was just looking at the language here I guess on the comparing the amendment, which is subsection A, it's hard to match these up. So it would be subdivision, well, in the original bill, so your bill, it's subdivision 3B, and there's a lot of language in there that's not in the amendment. I think the money is still there, but not all the money, but some of it. But there's language in there about projects have to use practice to be effective, long-lasting public benefit, including a match, be consistent with TMDL implementation plans, that language. So I don't know if who the question is for, why that language was in there originally and why it's not in there now.
I'm not tracking well, Mr. Chair and Representative Thiessen. So again, which section?
So if you look at the original bill, subdivision 3B, there's $5 million appropriated to Bowser for grants to protect and restore surface water. And if I look at the amendment, it would be subdivision 5B, which is a lot shorter. A little less money, but a lot shorter. But I'm wondering what the purpose of that language is and what we're losing by getting rid of it.
Mr. Chair, Representative Thiessen, I think I need to phone a friend on that. I believe there's somebody from Bowser here that may be able to help clarify.
Thanks.
If this is just an oversight or if there's a need for the change.
Welcome to our committee. Give your name for the record.
Mr. Chair and members, Angie Becker-Kudelka, Assistant Director with the Board of Water and Soil Resources. Mr. Chair and members, as I look at the language in the original bill which is lines 2.1 to 2.11, was the language that Bowser was appropriated before in the past. So it was to protect surface water and drinking water. And this language, which is the 3.5 million, focuses in on drinking water and groundwater. Both of them must use practices demonstrated to be effective, of long-lasting public benefit, and include a match. And I'm just looking at the difference. I'm thinking that the reason that TMDL and RAPS may not have been included was simply because it allows for things to be used for protection as well. And so a TMDL would only be in response to something that's already impaired. And this would allow, if there's something that's threatened, to also go towards that.
So, Mr. Chair, just to clarify, so the language in the amendment is actually broader then?
Mr. Chair, Representative Thiessen, I believe it is. It's more inclusive. I think it's the Wagenius amendment myself, but I'm not sure.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, any other questions from the members? Does anyone like to testify about this bill from the audience? Seeing none, Representative Torkelson, would you like to renew your motion?
I would. I'd just like to make a couple of quick comments before I do that. One, this does preserve the 5% reserve on the bottom line, so we're respecting that 5% reserve. And I did bring these changes to the Budget Outcomes Committee of the Clean Water Council last Friday at their meeting. They can't officially react until they have a full council meeting, so they're aware. The Clean Water Council is aware of my proposal, but has not yet had a chance to react to it. With that, Mr. Chair, I would renew my motion that House File 4269 be laid over for possible inclusion.
Very well, all in favor? No, we don't have to. I always want to do that. Thank you very much. Next, we have House File 4293, Representative Urdahl. We got props.
You have to use your own name.
You don't want that, huh?
Welcome to your committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members. On 4293, before I move possible inclusion, I would like to, I have an oral amendment I'd like to do. On line 1.8, insert after the word capabilities and interior walls. That's it.
Very well. And that's a picture of it, I assume?
That's it, right there.
Okay. Let's approve on Representative Urdahl's oral amendment on line. Let's have the staff read back the amendment.
Sure. Members and Chair, the amendment is on page 1, line 8. After the word capabilities, insert and interior walls.
Very well, everybody understand the amendment? With that, everybody approves of the amendment, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign, motion carried. The bill's the way you want it.
And I would move it for possible inclusion in the omnibus bill.
Very well. Any questions from the members?
Now I'll make the presentation.
Go ahead.
Thank you. This is the
We can just read it, it's not very
1900.
big.
What?
I thought we all could read it. Never mind.
Well, I wanted to talk.
I've noticed that.
This is the 1900 Litchfield Opera House. the historic Opera House, which less than 10 years ago was slated for demolition. This building was once listed as one of the most endangered in the state of Minnesota. Is a historic building. This is where Land O'Lakes was established. It's where the first Rural Electrical Association in Minnesota was established. It's where the first, the site of the first demonstration farm, all-electric farm in the country for the REA was established. So quite a history in the Litchfield Opera House. But after various uses over the years, it was falling into disrepair. And as I said, it was slated to be demolished, but the state of Minnesota, through legacy funding, did step forward. There have been a couple of grants dealing with the Opera House. The brick in the building comes from the local Ames Brickyard, which is about 100 years ago went out of business because its soft bricks started to fall apart. And so the outside of the Opera House had to be restored, and it now is in fine shape. The inside, we just did the floor last year, well, a few months ago, really, they finished it, the refinishing of the floor. It now needs another $100,000, which will take care of most of the interior wall and electric wiring that needs to be done. My assistant behind me here informs me that about $175,000 has been raised through the community, and these are just by individual contributions, nothing terribly large. So there's no big corporation or even government organizations that are putting money into this. It's the people of Litchfield and Meeker County and the Legacy Fund that have been able to restore this. In the future, I mean, we have events held there all the time now. Last Thursday, there were 200 there for a gardening gala. There are youth groups, there are plays. So it's an active venue, one that will continue to be used in the future. We just want to get the rewiring and the interior walls finished off.
Very well. Anybody have any questions about Representative Urdahl's fine piece of legislation? Seeing none,
I will renew my motion.
Representative Urdahl renews his motion to have House File 4293 laid over for possible inclusion. Next, we have Representative Urdahl's second bill, House File 4294.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I have an even more simple amendment for this one, an oral amendment on line 1.7. Strike the period after mill and put the word insert restoration.
Representative Urdahl's amendment in line 1.7, after mill, add restoration, period. Everybody understand that amendment? All in favor of that amendment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Amendment passed. The bill is the way you want it.
All right, thank you. The Grove City Mill was built in late 1800s, early 1900s. It was a mill for grain in the city of Grove City. Later, moved to Wilmer. For some reason, it was on Highway 23. And I remember for many years driving to Marshall, going by the mill, sitting there on the side of the road. It was moved back to Grove City, and now has become the site of, it now is part of Mill Park. The sign, "Welcome to Grove City," says "The Mill City." It's kind of like a mini Minneapolis. The mill is the symbol of Grove City. The celebration there each year now is called Mill Days, held in Mill Park. But the mill is falling apart. And so just asking for a minor grant from Legacy to the city of Grove City for $10,000. The Lions, other groups have also been coming up with money, and with $10,000 from the state, they can complete the restoration of this iconic symbol of Grove City. Representative Green is almost crying. I touched on her.
Representative Green, would you like to ask a question about House File 4294?
I might as well, Mr. Chair. If this building is falling apart, how much is $10,000 going to do?
Well, Representative Green, they are raising other monies as well, and they tell me that they'll have a fine mill
Very well. Any other
when they get their
questions?
money together.
Representative Lilly.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Chair Urdahl. Just a quick question. I think it's a great project. Sounds like I'm just curious. Did you apply for like a historical grant, or I wonder?
That's a great question.
I would think that they would want to come through with that.
It's a great question, Representative Lilly. A problem we have with this, because it's moved, it can't be listed as a, on the Register of Historic Sites. It's not in its original place. That's why we can't do it that way. But that was a good question.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Seeing none,
We have to move then that it be
laid over.
laid over for possible inclusion. I'd like to say likely, but I'll say possible inclusion.
You made your motion.
Yes.
It's laid over.
Thank you.
Next, we have Representative Murphy. Welcome to your committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. I would like to move that House File 4233 be laid over for possible inclusion in the omnibus bill.
Very well.
This bill had a different number last year, and the money was from a different fund, but it didn't get funded and in conference committee. And so we've revised it, and it's come back in a little better form. Because Sarah Erickson is back, and she's the head of education and development. And Jack Lavoie was here, former Representative Jack Lavoie was here last year, and he retired. And so we have Mr. Joe Montesano from many parts of the country, but most previously from Maine, as the new director of the Lake Superior Center. And the Lake Superior Center, Great Lakes Aquarium, is part of the state of Minnesota's authority. The state of Minnesota is the authority for the aquarium, the Great Lakes Aquarium. And they have this vision that we have to tell the people of the state about how important rivers are. Rivers that flow above the ground and below. And 848 tributaries that flow into the Great Lake Superior have their headwaters in 3A, Representative Eklund's district, and 3B, my district. And that is a huge number of tributaries. I haven't begun to see how they are flowing all the way from the top down to Lake Superior. But I looked at the calendar today and I thought, it's April. Spring must be here. For the first time this year, I wore a dress. I wore a dress the color of water. The color of water that are in the tributaries that are flowing through my district and Representative Eklund's district into the Great Lakes Superior. To tell you about what our ask is, Director Montesano and Sarah Erickson are going to talk. Please listen.
Welcome to the committee. Give your name for the record, please.
It's Joe Montesano, Executive Director of the Great Lakes Aquarium. Thanks very much, Sarah. I'd like to thank you, commissioners and representatives, chairman, excuse me, and representatives. I'm actually going to let Sarah, who's the expert on this project, has been with it since its inception. She's been with the aquarium for many years as well, but really with this project from its inception. So she's going to tell you a little more about it. So thank you for the opportunity.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. My name is Sarah Erickson, and I am the Director of Learning and Engagement at the aquarium. And really appreciative for Representative Murphy's support along the way in helping us tell stories about water. As a brief recap, Lake Superior Center, we're doing business as Great Lakes Aquarium. We're a nonprofit organization, and we were originally charged by the legislature with providing freshwater education opportunities for the region. So we connect people with water and wildlife of Lake Superior and really extend throughout waters of the world. These connections happen as individuals and groups and families observe the playful antics of river otters or reach out and touch sturgeon or participate in a camp or a class with us. And each year, thousands of youth come to us as part of a school field trip. We offer free professional development and teaching resources for extending water education out into classrooms around the state. And we are collaborative. We work with federal and state and local entities to communicate conservation messages and engage the public in science and the arts. We pride ourselves on providing a safe place for families of all backgrounds to come and play and learn together. And from an economic standpoint, we are Duluth's most visited paid attraction. We last year saw over 160,000 visitors through our space. And so we reach a large audience for our area. In 2013 and 2015, the legislature enabled us to tell two unique stories in our space. Shipwrecks Alive and Unsalted Seas were exhibits that focused on habitat in shipwrecks and large lakes around the world. There's information, so recaps give you a sense of what we're able to do with support from the legislature. There's information in the packet provided to you. And these spaces have invited hundreds of thousands of Minnesotans and visitors to our region to explore these compelling subjects. We invite people to touch things and explore and ask questions, and we feel like that's a really vital part of being a public resource. Our community has benefited from your support in the past, and we continue to today. As Representative Murphy stated, last year we presented an invitation to you to partner with us on telling the story, the dynamic story of river systems. That's come up a few times just in your conversation today. Rivers connect human communities and ecosystems. They facilitate the delivery of goods and water and nutrients and individuals, wildlife and humans. In Minnesota, this land of lakes, rivers are vital arteries. And in Minnesota, we have the unique situation of being connected by rivers to 3 different oceans. That's a really special place to be. And in Minnesota, as many of you know, life stories are so many of them are unfolding along a river system. It's a place that historically humans have settled. So with your generous support and the support of other partners, we hope to bring River Trek to life in 2 phases. We have done a bit of revisiting of our plan and want to make sure that we can continue with our momentum moving forward on the project in some smaller chunks. So in the centerfold of your packet, you'll see Phase 1. The full project budget is $736,000. We are contributing staff time, and as I mentioned, we're seeking other partners to help support the project and bring it to fruition. But Phase 1 focuses on what we're calling above the river, so looking at the riparian zones and banks and migration pathways along above the water. And so the main feature to tell this part of the story is an eagle and turkey vulture display. The second phase of the river, which is actually the second phase of the project, is the largest phase, simply because aquarium structures and all of the infrastructure associated with those requires more funding and just a bit more work in the area of our galleries that we're looking to put these stories. We're going to be looking at fast water and slow moving water, places like the North Shore, the Mississippi, and looking at the wildlife that call these unique habitats home. We're also in this phase of the project looking at the role rivers, wetlands, and estuaries play in the lives of humans. So we're working diligently to make this project a reality, and we really feel it will be a positive addition to Great Lakes Aquarium, Lake Superior Center, to the region, and really to the state. And we really thank you for your time and consideration of this exciting new adventure. So I'd be happy to answer questions. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any questions from the membership? They asked you $300,000 for this phase, is that correct?
Our original ask, correct, was for legacy funds for $300,000.
Okay.
Yep.
Any questions from the members? Yeah, Representative Green.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I see on, just a couple questions for you, and they're not trying to catch you or anything, but you got $160,000 for the eagle and turkey vulture indoor-outdoor habitat. You know, I can drive here, I live in northern Minnesota, and I actually have an eagle's nest on my property, and they, every few years they raise young. A lot of young have been raised there over the years, and and there's so many eagles out there now that you can see sometimes 15 of them in a pack feeding on a carcass. Do you guys have eagles up in the Duluth area?
We do. We do have healthy populations of eagles, and we currently have a resident bald eagle that's a rehabilitated wildlife that's non-releasable. And so this would be providing a space to display that particular animal and incorporate that bird into this story. He's currently off exhibit, doesn't have the space that he needs to really meet all of his needs as again, non-releasable wildlife, has some balance issues and such, and so we're looking to provide a space that allows for weathering. So an indoor-outdoor exhibit, so there's a sliding door that allows the elements in. And the eagle has been traditionally has been on display before and has been a very popular animal for folks to visit time and time again because of the opportunity to be that close to the bird and sort of see the eagle doing its eagle thing as opposed to soaring high above.
Well, thank you for the answer. It does seem a little stiff to me for an animal that is really becoming, in some cases, you might say overpopulated because they're getting to be so many of them. But the other question is on phase 2.
Sure.
You've got gallery preparations, deconstruction, $50,000. Can you explain that to me?
Sure. So, Chair, Representative, the space that we are looking to put this exhibit into currently houses what we have called the aviary or the wetlands. It's part of the original infrastructure of the aquarium that was built in the late 90s and has significant needs as far as tearing down what's already there to be able to revitalize it with this new story. So the deconstruction is looking at taking out old pieces to prepare for the installation of this new display.
Just one more question. Mr. Chair, thank you. So then the deconstruction, are you taking out some kind of a support wall within the facility? That's actually holding something up, or is it just a cosmetic wall?
Sure. Mr. Chair, Representative, the deconstruction is for large concrete structures and aquariums that have metal reinforcements and supports. So it's removing big parts of our infrastructure to clear that space out. So similar to remodeling your kitchen, clearing out the old cabinetry and sort of reworking how the plumbing works, that's part of that deconstruction expense.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. So there's not really any way to retrofit this because it seems like an awful lot to go through to take out an existing structure that's going, the way it sounds, the new one's going to be used for much of the same thing. So why not just retrofit it instead of tearing it all out?
Sure, Mr. Chair, Representative. We have actually, we're great fans of the reuse principle, and we try to reuse as much as possible within our space. The existing infrastructure that's there is not meant to house river species, and so the aquariums that are currently in that space were meant to represent or house turtles and waterfowl. And so in order to represent large river species, the goal is in that particular area where the major deconstruction would happen, we'd be taking out aquariums that are about 1,000 gallons, two that are about 1,000 gallons, and a flighted netted space, again, for waterfowl. We'd be removing that infrastructure and installing a 30,000 gallon aquarium exhibit to house large river species. So the infrastructure would be very different for the species that we're looking to house with this project. We have talked about saving pieces of the acrylic, which is sort of the biggest expense for a lot of these aquarium projects, and repurposing it as part of the wetlands. So we are looking at ways that we can repurpose materials that are there. But for what we're hoping to do, again, telling the story of rivers, we'd like to be able to show some of the large species that exist in our river systems, and we need a bigger space to do that. So we need to completely remodel how that works.
Representative Lilly.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and Representative Murphy, I really just want to commend you. Your aquarium folks have been great stewards of the public money that they've been given, and I really love the stories that you're telling with especially like the sturgeon effort. I mean, it's such a fascinating fish, and its recovery, and just it's just such a neat story. And then the shipwreck, of course, part of our story. And I just heard that song the other day on the radio, and it brings back memories. But I just think sad memories. But you've just been great stewards, and I just want to thank you for that, the aquarium. But I always thought all the committees I've been on, I'll never forget their meeting we had up there one time, and they're brilliant because they have this wonderful room that overlooks the harbor, and they were smart, though. They closed the windows so you couldn't look out, because people like me would be looking out the window the whole time, so we could focus on the discussion. And then afterwards, they allowed us to look out the windows. But I thought it was really quite brilliant, because I'm sure I would have missed half of it. But anyways, thanks for being good stewards.
Thank you.
Representative Lehman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, first, I want to wish Jack Lavoie a happy retirement. I hope he's having a happy retirement. He certainly deserves it.
Doing it well.
Is he?
Let her retire, yeah.
Great. Well, my question might be a little more difficult to answer, but I'm just curious. When I look at the wording of the bill, of the appropriation, it says that the purpose, and you've left the dollar amount open, but it looks like your gap is about $300,000. That the purpose is to develop, prepare, and construct an exhibit on river systems to help protect, enhance, and restore water quality in Minnesota rivers. Mm-hmm. So how do you measure success on that? How can you measure your success with this exhibit to protect, enhance, and restore water quality?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Representative, that is a great question. And as an educator, I am really interested in assessment and making sure that we are that the work we're doing means something and that we're having an impact. One of the things that we have been doing most recently is looking at evaluating visitor experiences and doing some visitor studies to see we can measure sort of a before and after with an experience in our space, whether in a camp or a class, or as participating as part of an exhibit experience. So we can do some analysis of what people knew and what their motivations were, what their attitudes were, what they expressed as behaviors before they experience a space, and then we can measure that after. Behavior is a really hard thing to nail down, and I appreciate you bringing that up. All of our work goes toward the long end, the long game of hoping that by providing individuals with an experience to create a positive relationship with wildlife and water, that will ultimately, with many other factors, contribute to an enhanced environment in the state. So it's part of many other things happening in their lifetime, but we see just with children that routinely come to our space, we see great change in their understanding of how systems function, which helps them become informed citizens in making decisions in the long run. So we see it as a piece of a bigger life journey, but something that we are really interested in quantifying more.
All right, Mr. Chair, and to the testifier, maybe the wording should be something to the effect of to educate in an effort to protect, or, something like that. Might be easier for you when you're called back to talk about your success.
Absolutely, I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none. Did you amend this or you didn't? I will, Representative Murphy, would you like to make any last words?
Mr. Chair, I would like to renew my motion, and then if it's successful, then I will speak with Representative Lehman and we'll work out better language.
I can't wait to see it. With that, Representative Murphy renews her motion to have House File 4233 be laid over for possible inclusion. Representative Freiberg, thank you very much for your testimony.
Thank you.
I can't wait I got another reason to go to Duluth now.
You will, besides petting the sturgeon.
Welcome to your committee.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Appreciate you hearing the bill. So House, should I make a motion or just describe the bill
Make
first?
a motion for possible.
I guess I would move that House File 3730 be laid over for possible inclusion in the omnibus bill.
Very well, you go ahead and proceed to.
Sure, thank you. So this is an issue that's important, I know in many members' districts, but my district is certainly no exception, particularly in Golden Valley. So if sewer, and I know a lot of you are familiar with this issue. This issue's been around for a few years, but just for the benefit of members or members of the public who may not be super familiar with this issue, if sewer pipes have cracks or holes in them, clear water like rainwater can seep into the sewer system. And if enough of that happens, it can overwhelm the capacity of sewage treatment plants, causing sewage to be discharged into lakes and rivers. The Met Council a while ago made cities address this problem at the risk of large fines. Golden Valley has poor soils and would have been particularly hard hit. So before I was a member here, I was on the city council in Golden Valley. And we passed a point of sale program where anybody selling their house has to get their sewers inspected for cracks and get them repaired if there are any cracks. Unfortunately, fixing those often runs into the thousands of dollars, which people selling their house aren't always super excited about. The bill I have would take some money from the Legacy Fund to fund grants to help private homeowners offset the costs of fixing those problems. There was actually a similar provision in the 2013 legacy bill. It was a smaller amount. The money was expended very quickly because there was a considerable amount of demand for it. So there is a precedent for this, and I think it's a good use of the clean water money. And I know there are a few people here to speak on the bill as well.
Very well. We have Patricia Nauman, Metro Cities, Jeff Oliver from Golden Valley, and Ross Beckwith. You can be ready to testify when he...
Mr. Chair and members, thank you very much for the opportunity to comment today. My name is Patricia Nauman. I'm the Executive Director of Metro Cities. Metro Cities represent cities across the 7-county metropolitan area at the legislature and also at the Metropolitan Council. The issue of inflow and infiltration, or I&I, as we like to call it, is a significant issue for many cities in the metropolitan area, and it's a significant issue on both the public local systems and also private properties that are contributing to this problem in the metropolitan area. And as Representative Freiberg mentioned, cities in the metropolitan area are compelled to address the problem because the clean water that ends up seeping into the regional wastewater pipes ends up using capacity in those pipes that the pipes were not designed for. So they're designed to meet population growth needs, and they are not designed to be treating excess levels of clean water that are coming into the pipes. On the private side of the equation, and you will hear from Mr. Oliver and Mr. Beckwith from 2 cities in the metropolitan area, issues like illegal sump pumps or deteriorating foundation drains or laterals end up allowing clean water to end up flowing out of the local system into the regional wastewater system. The issue with private property is Metro Cities has been successful at securing state bonding monies for assistance on the local public side, but with the private property component of this equation, which is very significant, capital dollars cannot be used. There are very expensive repairs for which homeowners are often strapped with. Cities do try to help when they can. Often they might have a point of sale program, but the reality is it's very difficult to ask homeowners to fix or to sort of compel them to fix these issues when they can't see the problem, and when the problem isn't just, even if you have a problem with your own private property, it really is affecting the whole community at large, frankly, the whole system at large. And so it's a difficult issue, both financially and politically. The monies that were secured in 2013 were quickly oversubscribed. It was $1 million. At that time, a grant program was put into place that was administered by the Metropolitan Council, and it was basically a 1/3, 1/3, 1/3 match. So the Clean Water Funds provided 1/3 for a property owner, the Metropolitan Council contributed 1/3, and cities contributed the other 1/3. And Metro Cities would certainly support another approach like that if the legislature finds fit to fund this program. So I will turn it over to the city testifiers.
Well, don't. Mr. Chairman.
I think we have a question for you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I seem to recall, and I don't have obviously my capital investment stuff with me here, but a request from the Metropolitan Council, a bonding request for I&I funding. Are you aware of that, and how does that compare with this?
Yeah, Mr. Chair and Representative Urdahl, Metro Cities is supporting legislation that would provide money through the capital, through a capital appropriation for cities in the metropolitan area to assist with I&I problems. The capital monies would be used for the problems that exist on the local public infrastructure, so essentially the city systems, the city public systems. The monies from the Clean Water Fund would go to help private property owners who are contributing to this issue, so not the public systems. So it's two different components of the same problem.
Representative Thiessen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So when does this happen? Does this only happen at sale?
Thank you, Representative Thiessen. In the city of Golden Valley, there is a point-of-sale program. So if you're selling your house, then you do have to get your sewer lines inspected, and if there's a problem, then they have to get then that problem has to get corrected. Homeowners can fix it at any point if they want to. I mean, I know when we had this program in 2013, there were many residents who were not selling their houses, but knew that the grant program was out there, so they chose to get it addressed at that point, even though they weren't selling their house. But if in the event then that they sell their house 10 years down the road, they have a certificate of compliance, so then they don't have to worry about it. I assume it's still that way. Yeah.
Could I, Mr. Chair and Representative Thiessen, different cities deal with this issue differently. I think what they have in common is once they are identified as contributing excess levels of inflow and infiltration, they are compelled to identify how to fix those problems because the issue does bear upon the regional wastewater treatment system. And so the Metropolitan Council has what it calls a surcharge program. And if you are a city that they have identified as contributing excess levels, you know, you either can spend the money to fix the problem, or you can basically pay a surcharge to the Metropolitan Council.
Representative Thiessen.
Thanks. So how does a homeowner know? That's my question. I get it at sale, because I had to do that when I bought my house. We spent, you know, $3,000 or $4,000. Built it into the price of the sale. We just kind of, you know, so we were able to pay for it that way, which is kind of getting to my question, I guess. Why shouldn't this be the responsibility of the homeowner, I guess, is where it ultimately comes down.
I think the cities can probably address how they deal with this
Give your name for
better
the
than me.
record and testify.
Mr. Chair, my name is Jeff Oliver. I'm the city engineer for the city of Golden Valley. Representative, in the city of Golden Valley, as well as many other communities, the sanitary sewer service is the responsibility of the homeowner or the property owner from the main in the street all the way into the house. That's the rationale for each individual homeowner. It's similar to a driveway.
Representative Thiessen.
We can go on with the testimony. I guess my question is, how does the homeowner know, except if they have an inspector come out when they're selling their house? Otherwise, is there a way to find out, like, can the city monitor, like, this house is sending a lot more than it would be expected? But if you could address that as you testify.
Mr. Chairman, Representative, that is the most common is at the point of sale. It is required. Any home in our community, any homeowner could at any point in time decide to have an inspection done. They typically are $300 to $400 roughly. It's similar to tuning up your furnace. It's recommended to make sure that you don't have issues with your service and end up having a backup of sewage into your homes. Mr. Chairman, I want to start by thanking Representative Freiberg. I think he's got a job in I&I mitigation should he decide not to run again. He did a very nice job summarizing the issue as overall. In the city of Golden Valley, as he alluded to, we've been actively attacking sources of inflow and infiltration for over 10 years. During the early stages of our program, we realized that the private portion of the sanitary sewer system that we were not responsible for was approximately 40% larger than the public system. We also realized that if we were going to be successful in mitigating and reducing I&I, we needed to address both the public and the private systems. So far, in the last 10 years, the city has spent in excess of $10 million on its system. During that same time frame, approximately 1/2 of our 8,000 sewer services have become compliant with our I&I point of sale program. That's a significant investment, considering that the average repair to a sewer service runs between $3,000 and $5,000. Our I&I reduction program includes ongoing monitoring of our wastewater flows both by the city and by the Metropolitan Council Environmental Services. The results of the monitoring for our community have shown significant reductions in our base flow, which occurs during dry weather, and during wet weather flows, which is where we typically see the I&I. It's my belief that without the investment of the property owners, we as a city would not have been able to achieve those reductions. Passage of this proposal will provide funding for a critical part of our I&I program, as well as many other cities in the metro and statewide. It'll also help meet the I&I reduction goals of the Metropolitan Council Environmental Services and all of the other agencies that deal with wastewater collection and treatment systems. These reductions will continue to minimize the risk of wastewater discharges into our water bodies and help protect the waters of this great state. I thank you for the opportunity to discuss this with you today, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Representative Thiessen.
Thanks. One other question. What are your standards? Who qualifies for the grant?
Yeah, that might be a better question for Ms. Nauman. As I recall, it was, I mean, anybody who has a problem was able to do it. I don't remember, and there's no guarantee the Met Council would do exactly the same system, but at least under the prior system,
Yeah, I'm looking for my.
I guess, Mr. Chair, I thought do the grants go to cities and then the money goes from the city to the homeowners? So how does Golden Valley deal with it, I guess is the question. Is there like an income limitation or is it just whoever is lucky enough to apply qualifies?
Oliver.
So, Mr. Chair and members, I think I can partially answer that, and maybe Mr. Oliver can as well. So I think the technical staff from the Metropolitan Council were not able to be here today. They could answer it very readily. But the last grant program that was put into place it didn't have income qualifications. There was a maximum. I'll find it here. I don't recall what the maximum was. But essentially, it was strict limitations on what actually qualified for the funding. So you had to be doing repairs that would mitigate the I&I. There were certain limits, I recall, placed on who could do the work. The monies flowed directly into repairs. There was not money set aside for administrative costs. The money went to the Metropolitan Council and then to the cities, and basically as pass-through entities, with each entity contributing again a third. So the Metropolitan Council put it, for every grant, a third from the Met Council, a third from the city, and then a third by the homeowner. And I'll try to find it.
Mr. Chair, sorry. I'm bored, I guess, so I'm going to, so the question, maybe I'm boring everybody else, sorry. But so the question is, so the individuals apply to the Met Council and then they get this grant and it flows to the cities and it kind of doubles or triples as it goes to the homeowner? I mean, because of this third. But anyway, so the application is directly to Met Council from the homeowner? And then.
Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, Representative, the previous program, the property owners made application with the city. We reviewed and made a recommendation to MCS staff. They approved, cut a check, sent the check to us, and we had to contact the homeowner, which occasionally got difficult because several of them had moved, and we had difficulties tracking them down. It was an interesting program that we hope that we could improve upon the process, but it was very, very successful in our community.
Okay, so Mr. Chair, then when the city was reviewing these grants, applications, was it did you look at like whether the person actually had the capacity with their own income to cover the cost of this? Or was it just technical?
Mr. Chair, Representative, that was not part of the previous program.
If I could add to that, Mr. Chair and Representative Thiessen, the monies that were directed for the last appropriation were directed to high priority areas as Representative Freiberg proposing under this legislation, in order to make sure that, so that was the focus, in order to make sure that where there are those problems in the metropolitan area, that the monies are flowing to those communities that actually have the highest levels of problem.
Representative Torkelson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess to the bill author, do you have any idea how large this problem is on a statewide basis?
Thank you, Representative Torkelson. And Mr. Chair, I think the answer is very.
Well, I guess, Mr. Chair, thank you, Representative Freiberg. How about within your own city, how large is the problem?
Thank you, Representative Torkelson, Mr. Chair. It's a significant problem in my own community. As I mentioned, we have fairly poor soils, so I know there are pockets within the metro area where it's more of a severe problem than others. I know the Southeast Metro has some issues with it. This is a bipartisan bill with some representatives from the Southeast Metro on it. I think I remember Representative Lilly saying it's an issue in his community pretty seriously. So I don't know that every community is really heavily hit by it, but there are some that definitely are.
Representative Green.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a few questions. The first one
Representative
is,
Green. I didn't think Representative Torkelson was done. I thought he was.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to make the point that this is a very large problem. And if we're going to start spending clean water funds to fix private issues, we're very going to quickly run out of money in the Clean Water Fund to do the work that I believe and others believe the Clean Water Fund is designed to correct. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Representative Green.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. How do you determine a high priority area?
Mr. Chairman, Representative Green, in the metro area, the communities that are producing excess inflow and infiltration are identified by the MCS, Metropolitan Council Environmental Services. All flow is monitored from upstream communities as it comes into Golden Valley or each city, and it's metered as it leaves. Simple math tells us how much we generate. So that's how we're identified, and once we exceed an allowable peak as determined by the MCS, we're considered to be an I&I community, and that surcharge program that was previously discussed becomes effective.
Mr. Chair, what are, there's different materials that these pipes are made of depending on the years they were put in. So what are you looking at? Are you looking at clay, cast iron? And also, what is your main runs, your main sewer lines that run through your city streets? What are they at now? When was the last time they were upgraded?
Representative Green, in Golden Valley, with most of the growth occurring immediately after World War II, I would say that about 80% of our sanitary sewer mains are clay, which is very, very susceptible to damage and root intrusion. Our larger diameter mains are typically reinforced concrete, and we do have some ductile or cast iron pipe that's typically on piling in very, very poor soils. Over the course of the last 15 to 20 years, the vast majority of our street reconstruction projects have included rehabilitation of the sanitary sewer, but we've only been able to rehabilitate about 20 to 25% of our total mains.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the first thing I would say is that I'd be looking for different quotes if you're going to dig a sewer line in and it's going to cost your homeowner $5,000. I just put in a whole sewer, and I was upset about it because it cost me $7,000 because they made me put in what I think is a ridiculous above-ground drain field. But to dig those sewer lines in isn't that bad. And so, but if you're going to be spending money, that kind of money, or requiring the homeowner to do that, and then you're going to be dumping into a main line that's no better than the line that they just had, seems a little counterproductive. And that maybe that you'd be better off looking at something when you have the money to replace your main lines, and then making a deal with your contractors and your homeowners that they could pay a smaller amount to get their main lines done. Other than that, I don't know what houses go for in this area, but I assume they're pretty high. So even if it was $3,000 to $5,000, I don't think it would be that bad to put that into the price of the home to get that sewer line fixed, rather than do try to do the grant program, because even the amount of money that you're asking for, and I do know they're right, this is all over the state, and this is not uncommon. It's not gonna touch this. And so I think we'll be beating a trying to kill a large animal with a twig here, even if you're successful.
Seeing any other members have any questions? Ross Beckwith, welcome to our committee. Give your name for the record.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. I'm Ross Beckwith. I'm a Public Works and Parks Director and City Engineer for the City of West St. Paul. Just a little bit about our I&I program. We also did start back in 2008. We were fortunate enough to receive a $1 million surcharge in 2007 for a large rain event. So as was stated, you can either pay the fine or you can invest in your city, and the City of West St. Paul chose to invest in their city. So we started a program going around televising sewers, And basically how the city of West St. Paul did it, just kind of started in Ward 1, right down the street, knocking on doors, going in and televising lines and finding them, to be non-compliant, and then requiring to have it fixed in within 6 months. So it was quite a popular program with our residents. Not at all. And actually, with the digs, a lot of contractors were digging up, replacing the old clay with PVC in the road. So it turned some of our roads into more or less patchwork quilts. So now you have a cost for the city because the road is destroyed, and you also have a cost to the homeowner for replacing their lateral. In 2014 rain event we had that actually overwhelmed one of our lift stations and flooded 100 homes in our city. We were given a $2.7 million surcharge. At that time, we city took a look at what we were doing, and that just going down the street wasn't the best way to do it. So talking to some people in Golden Valley, we did end up going to a point of sale as well. As of January 1st, 2017, selling your house, you got to get an inspection, got to get it fixed. If you don't, the new property owner has 12 months to get it fixed. We went after all our commercial properties, gave them 24 months to come into compliance. And any rental license in the city, which makes up about 45% of our city, they were required to get become compliant within 2 years of their next rental license. So we took a big chunk of that out in the first 2 years. We used to have a consultant do the inspections. We have since hired someone about a year and a half ago, so we do everything in-house now. It works out great. It's cheaper, more efficient, and definitely better communication than we had before. We do not allow digs anymore in our streets unless it's immediate, unless it's an emergency. Everything is lined. With our reconstruction projects, then we can go into areas, and if there's something that needs to be done, we can do it at that time. We do require that in addition to those who are selling their house, anyone who's getting a street reconstruction coming up, they have to have at least the inspection done so we know what we're dealing with there before we rip the road up. So West St. Paul, we have about 5,400 private sewer laterals in the city, average age 60 to 75 years old, pretty much mostly all clay. To date, 45% of our city has been inspected. The city does pay for those inspections. We started, since 2008, we've paid for all the inspections in the city. And over 50% of inspections done are found to be non-compliant. Right now, West St. Paul reimburses 15% up to $5,000 to each property owner for the repair of their sanitary service, just to help them out a little bit. And we do allow the remainder of the balance to be assessed over a period of 10 years on their taxes. Average household income in 2016 for West St. Paul, $51,900. Many of these are seniors on fixed incomes as well. And average repair is discussed many times here, $3,000 to $5,000. You're talking a significant amount of your average income possibly going to something that you never even see underground. So we're certainly in support of this bill, and thank you for your time. We'll take any questions you have.
I think I remember an inspector coming into my house to make sure I had everything draining in the right place. And I passed. I felt very good about that.
You should.
Anyway, any other questions for this testifier? Any other questions about the bill? Any questions from the audience? There's nobody else to ask. Representative Freiberg.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a problem that needs a solution. There are a range of home prices in Golden Valley, and the cost of repairing the problems that lead to inflow and infiltration are a serious cost for many residents. I certainly heard from numerous of them when I was on the city council and continue to do so. When we had a grant program in place, it caused inflow and infiltration problems to be addressed sooner than they might have been otherwise. There were many people who took advantage of the grant program immediately and didn't wait for their house to be sold. And so obviously this had an effect of preventing discharges and protecting the environment. This is a problem that affects the public, it affects our water quality, and having a grant program like this is consistent with the purposes of the Legacy Act, so I appreciate your consideration of it.
Certainly. With that, Representative Freiberg, will you renew your motion?
Yes, I will renew my motion that House File 3730 be laid over for possible inclusion in the omnibus bill.
Very well. Thank you very much for your testimony. Very enlightening. And we are going to meet next Monday, the boss told me. And so with that, we are adjourned.